Hello, everybody. A grammatical question regarding the opening pasuk of our parasha basically hints to a very central theme that goes through the parasha, a theme which I think it's very important for us these days to emphasize. The problem is it doesn't pass in English, okay? I'll read you the pasuk in English, okay? In English it says, "Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse." If you read the Hebrew, you'll see the problem. In the Hebrew, we say, Re'ei anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. Re'ei in the singular form, Re'ei, talking to an individual, lifnechem in the plural. In the English, it doesn't pass, because you in English is both singular and plural. But in the Hebrew, the commentators have noticed that there's a grammatical question here. The Torah says re'eh, turning to the individual, and then it becomes in the plural form. And but they suggest different suggestions, which all of them touch very central issue in our lives today, but also in those times.
Charlie, I do need Wi-Fi.
Leaving this here. Crossing the Jordan River. That has to do with the relationship between the individual and the crowd, and the tzibur. And I'd like to introduce some when Moshe Rabbeinu addressed Am Yisrael, addressed something to a group, Lifnechem, plural. So somebody could say, okay, talking to all the others. He's not talking to me. You know, if I will come to you with some demand, you'll say, hey, the other people would do it. It's not me, you know? Moshe Rabbeinu is turning to Am Yisrael, giving them mitzvot, laws, commandments. Some people could say, it's enough that the other ones do it. It doesn't have to be me. It's not meaning me, obviously. Let them do it. So the Torah says in the singular, Re'eh, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to each one of you. I'm saying the same words to everybody, but when my words meet each one of you should say, he's talking directly to me. I remember when I was in high school, I learned in the yeshiva high school, Nativ Meir. My Rosh Yeshiva was Rav Aryeh Bina, Zichrono Livracha. And I remember when he would give us Musa Shmuz, Moreover Rabbi Rav Aryeh, he would many times say the following: I'm not addressing anyone specifically. I'm talking to all of you. But if somebody feels that what I say relates to him, so I'm really talking directly to him. And what the Al-Sheikh is suggesting is that when you're addressed, when you're part of a crowd that is addressed, you should open your ears and your hearts and feel that you're addressed directly to you. Maybe you'll hear something the other ones don't hear. Because the words that come out of the person who's speaking to you, they meet you. And when they meet you, they become different than when they meet somebody else. The Kli Yakar, a different issue, which is like Al-Sheikh says, a person can say, who needs me? Who am I? There are so many other people. The Kli Yakar says the opposite. He says the truth is that each person is special. And therefore, each person is responsible for the others. And he should really, truly believe that what he does doesn't only have a linkage to himself, but it affects others too. In the words of Chazal, he says, the next pasuk describes Am Yisrael, Har Grizim and Har Eval, the two big mountains in the center of the country. When they entered the Eretz Yisrael, they made a covenant there of the blessing and the cursing. It's a covenant. And Chazal say that the covenant brought all Am Yisrael together because the idea of Arevut, of Kol Yisrael Arevin Ze Bazeh, they were all responsible one for the other, that started working from Har Grizim and Har Eval. And what the Al-Sheikh says is that in that time, the Kli Yakar, each person should realize that what he's doing doesn't only deal with it, with the effects on himself personally, but in everybody else too. I want to explain why did this arevut, that we're responsible one for the other, begin when they entered Eretz Yisrael? Why not before? I think the answer is very simple. When Israel was in the desert, they were all together all the time. They were gathered together. They lived in the same. They had the same between them. It's true that they were divided into tribes, but still they weren't very much different than the others. But what happens when you enter Eretz Yisrael after they crossed the Jordan River? They started scattering. Each one went to his home, to his place, and then the differences between the tribes became more evident. They developed their own unique identity. Suddenly the world had rich and poor. Those who were more successful economically, those who were more in need. This tribe developed something that the other ones didn't. And when you gather, when each one goes to live in a different part, they stop living together, a real challenge raises, and that is the relationship between the I self and the other ones and the rest. What the Torah says, that entering Eretz Yisrael, there was a covenant at Har Grizim and Har Eva, responsible one for the other. I would say more than that. Maybe we discovered also a new community which we did not recognize or were familiar with in the desert. My late grandfather, the Rav Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, has a beautiful essay called "The Community," and what I'll tell you now is taken from that essay. The Rav says it creates a community that it's built by many different individuals, and each one has a unique thing that he donates to the others that the others don't have. So it's like a circle. When you become unique and you become different, we would think that then we like scatter, then we separate. But the truth is then we can hold hands. And when we hold hands together, when each one is so different and so unique, so then we create something which is much bigger than the sum of all the people holding hands, because together we can do things much stronger. So the re'eh, lifnechem, the individual in the community, the individuals entering Eretz Yisrael became more individual, and that's why they're called to create a stronger community to hold hands. It brings me to the center of our parasha, to a pasuk, which we will read at the beginning of Perek Yudaled, where the Torah says, Banim atem la'Adonai Elohechem. The Torah says, you are children of God. And therefore what? Lo titgodedu v'lo tasimu kolcha b'neinechem lamet. What does that mean? So I'll translate to English. Lo titgodedu would seem to be, you shall neither cut yourselves. In those times, people would cut themselves when they were mourning the passing of somebody, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. They used to shave their hair off and do many rituals regarding the dead. So the Torah says, no, you will not mourn that way. Why? It continues. Because we're a holy people for the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Kadosh Baruch Hu chosen us to be his treasured people. Now that obviously is pshuta. A very, very interesting halacha, which gives another interpretation to the words lo titgodedu. Not only not to cut yourselves, but not to split into different groups. We will say in the prayers of Yomim Noraim, v'yasu chulam aguda echat. Aguda is that we tied together. So lo titgodedu reminded Chazal of the word aguda. Don't split in different groups. Make sure to be together. Now, how in the world did they that explanation? So the Netziv says something which I think is very brilliant. And even though he doesn't quote the Rambam, I will bring you shortly. I think the Rambam himself already thought of it many, many years before the Netziv. The Netziv says that the reason Chazal thought that lo titgodedu should be interpreted in dual interpretation is because the Torah gives two explanations, two reasons to explain why not lo titgodedu. One is what I read before, ki am kadosh ata Hashem Elokecha, because you're a holy people of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But Tziv says, Banim atem Hashem Elokechem also comes to explain why lo titgodedu. But why in the you need two explanations. So the Tziv says there are two meanings to lo titgodedu. But are the children of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that explains why you should not split into different groups. Now, the Rambam already thought that. I want to read you an amazing Rambam, one of my favorites. The Rambam in the laws of tzedakah, the Rambam, when he calls Jews to help each other, listen what the Rambam says. B'chol Yisrael v'anilvim aleim ke'achimem. All Am Yisrael are like brothers one to the other. We're brothers and sisters. Now, how do we know that? So listen to what he says. It's amazing. Shene'emar banim atem la'Hashem Elokechem. It's our pasuk. Know what the Rambam says? If we're all the children, the sons of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, so it means we're brothers, right? My brothers and I, my sisters and I, we have the same parents. So we're brothers and sisters. So if all of Am Yisrael, each one of us is a son of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, we have the same father. So we're brothers and sisters. And therefore, you know what he says? If the brother doesn't care for his brother, who's going to care for him? Mi yirachem alav. Let's put aside the second part statement of the Rambam. I'll return to it shortly. But the Rambam says something amazing. We are brothers because we have the same father. And therefore, now let's go back to Chazal's drasha. We should not divide one from the other. Lo titgodedu, lo te'asu agudot agudot. Don't split into different groups. Don't have machloket amongst yourself. I'll try to be more clear. Brothers have something in common. That's why also this competition between brothers. They also fight. I'm sure you know that. Why? Because they're so close. And many times brothers and sisters have a special need to create their own special identity that will make them unique and different than their brother or sister. On the other hand, that doesn't mean they don't have many things in common. And what the Torah is really saying to us, let's go back to Re'eh and Lifnechem, the individual and the group. We're all brothers, so we're close, and therefore we should not split. But that doesn't mean we're not different. It doesn't mean that we're all the time together. But the Torah has a cry of you are this, you have something very close, and make sure to keep that. You should hold hands and be close one to the other. This brings us to the second half of the Rambam statement, that we also have responsibility one for the other. It's not only that, oh, we're brothers and sisters. No, we should care for each other. We should help each other. And this brings us to the last part of our Parshat Shavua, where the Torah brings the laws of tzedakah, the laws that demand us to help those who need, those who are poor. And the Torah uses a lot the word achich there, because he's your brother. And this too was created in Eretz Yisrael. That's why it's so central in Moshe Rabbeinu's speech. Because as I mentioned before, everybody had food, everybody had man, but entering Eretz Yisrael, suddenly we'll see, some will be rich and some will be poor, and therefore help each other. So our whole parsha goes through one great theme, and that's the theme of being individuals, unique, and we create a group. We create a better group because we are many, many different and unique individuals. On the other hand, we have responsibility and to help each other. Now, obviously, this meets me personally very much these days of Corona, because I think almost everything I said is relevant for experiences these days. They're schlepping all of us, okay? I think many people schlep when they think about masks, or we get rules, instructions from the Ministry of Health. Many can say, okay, they mean for the others. They don't mean for me. Who cares if I go with a mask on? I'm only one person. Who cares if it's only on my chin? Re'eh, they're talking to each one of us. Each one of us should realize that what we do is meaningful. It's directly to us. We're called, each one of us, to be careful. We also have responsibility for the others, the other responsible for. And in these days when many people are hit economically, we have to help them. But we also have another call from the parasha to keep being a group. We shouldn't split. We shouldn't just say, okay, everybody's in his own home, street minion. We have to continue being a community. Now, I'm turning to you on this Erev Shabbat, Mevarchin Rosh Chodesh Elul. We will start this Friday blowing shofar in Shul. And I'm sure that many of you are concerned about in the prism of what I mentioned to you before, is that we should keep being a community. I know that one of the effects of the coronavirus is that scattered. We have small minyanim in Shul, people are home, people found their street minyan, their friendly street minyan, not friendly, but it's very, very important that all Yonah community should keep being a community and a group, that we should keep being members of our community, that we should stick together and not let ourselves lead godei to scatter. I want to address you about our concerns about Yamin Oraim. I'm sharing with you that the leadership of our community, meaning the Vad of the Shul, the Gaboyim, and me too, we're thinking a lot of the right way of how to make the prayers. There are many things we don't know yet. We don't know what will be the rules. We don't know how high will be the level of sickness that we don't know what the rules will be. The plan, which will take into account different possibilities in order to do. And first of all, assure you that I will not sleep at night. I will not go to Shul on Rosh Hashanah if I will know that there's a member of our Shul who does not have a place to daven. And we will try to answer the needs of all of you. Of all of you. I'll add that we're not only thinking of our Shul, we realize that at these times we also have to cooperate with the other communities. And I can share with you that we're working together with the other two Ashkenazi shuls in our streets, meaning Netzach Menashe and Beit Midrash Toni Leumi. I've met with the Rabbanim there, and we're building a mutual plan. When the first thing on our agenda is to make sure that every resident of these streets has a place where we can daven Yamim Noraim. Now, we still don't know yet exactly how we'll do it, but I want to assure you that we're thinking of you and we're going to work together. And B'ezrat Hashem, we don't know exactly how and where and when, but we'll do it properly. But I would want to turn to you. We need your cooperation. I want to explain to you what cooperation we need. First of all, we need information from you. There will be a questionnaire that will be sent to you, but we need information. How do you want to daven these days? You want to come to Shul? You're satisfied with the street minyan? You're all settled? If you want to come to Shul, you want to daven inside, maybe outside? Realizing that obviously people who are considered population at risk, it's much safer outside. It's really safer for everybody. But there's a price davening outside because outside it's hot and we don't have the proper conditions. On the other hand, going inside, would you feel safe? What do you want? In order for us to get organized, we have to know where you're standing and what your expectations are, and what your needs are. So please cooperate when we ask for this. I'm asking more than that. If you have special needs, please contact me and tell me if there's somebody who won't be able to go to Shul. His doctor says to him, you stay home. I want to help him or her to hear shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We will come and blow next to your window, next to your house. But we have to know that that's what you need. There'll be somebody who will have to be in bidud those days. please contact and tell us. We'll make sure that your needs are answered. I hope that Bezrat Hashem will be able to daven properly and continue being a community. Remember that we are Lifnechem. We are many individuals. We're Banim and we're brothers. We're children of Baruch Hu, and Bezrat Hashem will be able in the days of El to get and to have meaningful tefillot on these Yamim Noraim. I want to wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom, and you should all be healthy. As they say in Yiddish, "Soll sei gesund und stark," okay? And all those who are only schlepping, they should be stark, okay? So Shabbat